it's me, Brianka J, and I'm back with another video to celebrate 28 days of Black history, Black excellence, Black art, all things Black, you know what it is. And I woke up today and I was thinking to myself, like, where did we get this notion like Black people don't read? Or where do we get any of these stereotypes? Like Black people don't swim, Black people eat chicken, love watermelon, like all these little stereotypes that are so pervasive in the defining of who we are and how we're seen by others. And I was just like curious, and then so my curiosity landed me at the Ferris State University paper by Miss Laura Green, where she talks about stereotypes, and it's called Negative Racial Stereotypes and Their Effect on Attitudes Towards African Americans. And she pretty much said she started exploring this because the racial stereotypes of early American history had a significant role in shaping attitudes towards African Americans during that time. So images of the Sambo, the Jim Crow, the Savage, the Mammy, the Aunt Jemimah, the Sapphire, the Jezebelle. Like, though they don't have as much power as they used to, they still have a lot of influence on how we look and interact with each other. I mean, I even can recall a time where a coworker was just super devastated because one of the students called him an Uncle Tom. And it was just like, do you even know where that comes from or what that means or what that, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're just these stereotypes and these cliches that kind of dominate how we think about each other and how others perceive us. So I wanted to explore that today, especially looking at this paper from Ms. Laura Green. If you want to hear more about that, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and stick with me. We're still doing 28 days of Black history, even if that means you get 3 or 4 videos in one day. It's okay. It's okay. So I want to go over some of the stereotypes that we see, like maybe the Sambo. So she says one of the most enduring stereotypes in American history is the Sambo. And this pervasive image of the simple-minded, docile Black man dates back at least as far as the colonization of America. The Sambo stereotype flourished during the reign of slavery in the United States. In fact, the notion of the happy slave is the core of the Sambo caricature. White slave owners molded African American males as a whole into this image of a jolly, overgrown child who was happy to serve his master. However, the Sambo was seen as naturally lazy and therefore reliant upon his master for direction. In this way, the institution of slavery was justified. Bishop Whipple's Southern Diary is evidence of this justification of slavery. Says they seem a happy race of beings, and if you didn't know it, you would never imagine that they were slaves. However, it was not only slave owners who adopted the Sambo stereotype. Although Sambo was not born out of a defense for slavery, it extended far beyond these bounds. It is essential to realize the vast scope of this stereotype. It was transmitted through music titles and lyrics, folk sayings, literature, children's stories, and games, postcards, restaurant names, and menus, and thousands of artifacts. I'm pretty sure you've seen like that little, it's like a little doll with a big red mouth. I have to try to insert a picture somewhere. So it says the stereotype may be so consistently and authoritatively transmitted in each generation from parent to child that it seems almost a biological fact. And yeah, the Sambo caricature, the simple-minded, happy Black man that I can't even think of anybody who acts that way for real. But definitely the expectation of being happy to serve, being excited, the big smiling, dancing, almost the same thing we kind of, sometimes people, especially literaries and scholars, kind of scorn entertainers for like being so ready to shuck and jive, right? That whole idea of shucking and jiving. I think it comes from that idea of the Sambo character, that happy slave, happy to dance for you, happy to serve you type of ideology. And it's unfortunate because it is juxtaposed by the idea of the angry black man or the angry black woman. So if people are expecting this happy-go-lucky, ready to shuck and jive person, it makes it difficult for scholars, literaries, and intellectuals to push themselves into rooms that are considered to be more sophisticated because they don't believe you have the intelligence or you don't have the intelligence or the sophistication to really interact with these people, and maybe you make everything a joke and you're not taking things seriously. Even if it's not true, because that stereotype lives, we find that we have to fight a little harder to be taken seriously when it comes to being scholars and our studies. And I remember even being a girl, growing up and always being interested in reading, I can recall a number of times when I was ridiculed for having that interest, or I was ridiculed because I wasn't dancing, I wasn't singing, I wasn't shucking and jiving, that because my talents didn't lead me to that. It was a ridicule that came from internally in my own community, especially from little boys that I thought were cute. They would rather be around a more dancing, partying type of person, right? Because that's what we kind of stereotypically believe. And if you're not doing that, then you're considered either angry or boring or too serious. But the Sambo character does play a role, and we see it in a lot of different movies and a lot of different ideas, especially older movies, especially those minstrel shows. Those definitely perpetuated it. But that just be just like Miss Laura Green said, just because it doesn't hold as much power as it used to, and you're not going to see it in every situation and show anymore, doesn't mean the idea doesn't still hold true. This is why they always think that black people can dance. That's where that comes from, this ideology that every black person can dance and every black person can sing, because every black person must have some attributes of the Sambo stereotype, which is not true, because no culture is a monolith, right? So anyway, that's the Sambo character, but I am going to go over the other 7 stereotypes that perpetuate African American society. So if you want to hear more about these, stick with me. See y'all soon.